You ever come home after a 12-hour drive dead on your feet, but happy to finally put your head on your own pillow, and instead you find a stranger and her little girl living in your house, your whole life rained on and stacked in soggy cardboard out front, and your HOA president smiling like she just won the lottery? Yeah, that happened. The police chief, who I thought was a friend, told me I needed to leave immediately, like I was the criminal. Meanwhile, Christina, the HOA queen herself, stood there waving official-looking papers, telling the cops I was harassing a vulnerable family. That's how my nightmare started. Comment below if your HOAs ever made you feel powerless. I'm standing in the middle of my front yard, soaking wet, staring at my own hiking boots and my grandma's china set all ruined, like somebody held a yard sale during a hurricane. But the real punch to the gut. Somebody had packed all my stuff like a professional mover, everything labeled, everything taped like I'd hired them myself. Except I didn't. I just stood there clutching my house keys thinking, am I having a stroke? Did I somehow miss the memo about being evicted from my own life? And then I saw the paperwork. Bright orange condemned signs plastered everywhere, doors, windows, even my mailbox. Looked real enough right down to the fake county seal, but the font was off, the paper was wrong, it just screamed laser printer. Before I could rip them down, I heard voices inside my cabin, a woman and a little girl talking about what cereal they wanted for breakfast, like it was Saturday morning and this was just their life. Rachel, that's her name, comes out, holding her little girl's hand, and she looks at me like I'm the crazy one. You can't be here, Christina said. You wouldn't be back till September. She said this place was condemned. Lady, it's August. I've been paying the mortgage for 5 years, and nobody ever said a word to me about unsafe for occupancy. That's when the real circus started. Christina Scott, HOA president, real estate mogul, self-appointed guardian angel of the neighborhood, shows up dragging Chief Morrison behind her. She puts on a show worthy of Broadway, yelling loud enough for the squirrels to file a noise complaint. Officer, this is the man who's been harassing this poor family trespassing on condemned property. She's waving folders stuffed with official documents, court orders, environmental reports, violations. All fake, but she acted like Moses with the tablets. I tried to show Chief Morrison my deed, my title tax receipts. He glanced, shrugged, went right back to Christina's paperwork. I started laughing because, honestly, it was either that or lose my mind. I pulled out my phone and started recording because who's going to believe this without proof? Christina doubled down, claiming I was intimidating witnesses and violating privacy. She even squeezed out a few tears for good measure, babbling about protecting families from aggressive individuals. So what do you do when you get kicked off your own land? You pack up your waterlogged life in front of your neighbors while your own home turns smaller and smaller in your rearview mirror. I crashed at the only motel in town, lying on a rock-hard bed, listening to the AC wheeze and wondering, how did I become the villain in my own story? Next morning, I called the environmental court that supposedly condemned my property. The clerk just sighed, said, "Sir, we never issued any order for your address." Turns out someone had stolen their letterhead, and mine wasn't the only case that month. 4 forged environmental orders all traced back to my county. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some bureaucratic mix-up. Somebody had targeted me. I started digging. That's what I do, debug problems. Only this time it wasn't code, it was county records. That's when I found out about Scott Construction, the company snapping up lakefront property left and right. You want to guess who owns it, Christina? Turns out there's a $15 million condo project riding on access to the marina, and my lot is the only way in. If she gets it, each unit sells for $600K. If not, they're just pretty apartments for half the price. She'd been planning this for months, watching my travel schedule, waiting for me to leave. Here's where the plot thickens. Turns out I wasn't the only one. Scott Construction had done this before twice. First, the problem homeowner gets code violations out of nowhere, spends months fighting it, gets drained by legal fees, finally sells for a loss. The company swoops in. Systematic, ruthless, the same playbook every time. And Chief Morrison public records showed he owed $35,000 in gambling debts. Christina was making regular consulting payments to cover his losses, legal on paper, but a leash around his neck in reality. That's why he never gave my documents a real look. I sat in that motel piecing it together, fake court orders, corrupt officials, a whole network. But then I remembered Mike, my neighbor retired cop, 30 years on the force. If anyone could spot a con, it was Mike. I showed him the blueprints, the charity records, everything I'd dug up. He whistled, said, "Now it all makes sense." He'd noticed all the foreclosures good families run out by, manufactured crises, wild code violations, legal headaches that forced them to sell. And every time Scott Construction picked up the pieces. But the twist, Rachel. The woman in my cabin wasn't a con artist. She was another victim. Christina had threatened her with a fake CPS report, forged receipts claimed Rachel stole from a children's charity that Christina herself had been embezzling from. Rachel, terrified of losing her daughter, signed everything Christina put in front of her, lease agreements, utility transfers, even a fake voter registration, believing she was helping with housing assistance. Christina weaponized a mother's love for her kid and turned her into an accomplice. Rachel handed me a manila envelope full of bank statements and fake invoices, money supposedly spent on school playground equipment, but the swing sets in town hadn't changed since I moved in. It was all a laundering operation, and Rachel was the unwitting bookkeeper. We agreed to meet at the diner, but Rachel warned me, "Whatever you do, don't go home tonight." That sent chills down my spine. What did Christina have planned? When I met Rachel behind the marina the next night, she laid it all out. Christina had used this scam at 2 other lakes, always targeting single mothers for her charity, always running them out of town after the job was done. She kept profiles detailed cold. My name was on a list, travel habits, even notes about needing special handling. Rachel showed me a pre-written statement Christina wanted her to sign, claiming I'd threatened her child, a setup to get a restraining order, ruin my name, lock me out for good. And then headlights. Christina had tracked Rachel's phone. We barely escaped, but I knew the stakes had just skyrocketed. Mike and I worked with Jennifer, a sharp local attorney, and with Rachel's evidence, we got the bank manager to open Christina's safety deposit box. Inside confessions from other mothers, property transfer docs, records of the whole operation, enough to bring the roof down. But Christina moved faster. She grabbed Rachel and Lily tried to relocate them out of state before we could act. For a few hours, we didn't know if we'd ever see them again. But the police tracked her phone to an abandoned Scott Construction warehouse. That's where we found Christina broadcasting live to thousands online, spinning herself as the victim, while Rachel and Lily sat off camera terrified. Here's the part you won't believe. Christina, so obsessed with controlling the story, started showing her fake permits and financial documents on camera, digging her own grave. Viewers screenshot everything, posted it online. The tide turned. When the cops moved in, the neighbors blocked her escape, and Christina got arrested on a live stream in front of 32,000 people. Rachel spoke her truth to the whole world, held up proof of stolen charity money, and the community rallied around her. In the aftermath, the truth came out. Christina had run the same scam in 6 places, destroying families, stealing $90,000 from children's charities, using every dirty trick in the book. She got 18 years in federal prison, no parole. Her assets were seized. The stolen money returned, playgrounds rebuilt, and the old HOA dissolved. The community came together, held open meetings, and Rachel became a local hero, teaching others how to spot charity fraud. Jennifer and I started a nonprofit to help families fight back, and that little cabin of mine turned into a symbol of what happens when people refuse to be bullied. But the work isn't over. Christina tried more scams from prison, but our new transparency systems caught her. Now other towns call us for help when their own HOA queens get greedy. The fight never stops, and it shouldn't, because corruption only wins if good people stay quiet. If you ever wondered if one person can make a difference, take it from me, you can. But it's a hell of a lot easier when neighbors have your back, when people refuse to look away, and when a community finally stands up and says, enough. If your HOA's pulling shady moves or you've seen fraud in your neighborhood, drop your story in the comments. Let's remind the Christina Scotts of the world they're not as smart as they think. Because sometimes fighting back means more than just saving your house, it means saving your whole community. And that's worth every late night, every tough conversation, and every risk you take to stand up for what's right.